Pedro from A&P-REACTS. I'm here today with Matt from Nightmare to talk about their new album, Aeternam, out October 2nd on AFM Records. How's it going?
Well, pretty nice. I'm feeling good and really happy that the record came out tomorrow. So, I'm very excited.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, like, you guys been working on this for a long time, so now to see the light at the end of the tunnel and the album finally coming out for everybody to be able to listen to, it has you guys excited, but perhaps a little bit nervous as well.
Well, nervous in the way that the lineup, that the changeover with the lineup is always something that is kind of difficult to deal with, because basically you never know how people will react to your choice. That's the main problem. So well, yes, I'm kind of excited, and actually the feedbacks from the first 3 video clips were so good that I'm not worried anymore.
That made you feel a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, your review was so nice. Really enjoyed it, seeing you talking about the album, because I guess you're the one that really understood everything about the whole album and how it was created. So,
Well,
yeah.
I'm glad I was able to do that. I really enjoyed listening to the record. Was I wouldn't say it was a surprise, but it was definitely an album that caught me a little bit off guard, because I kind of had a little bit of an expectation going in, and then when I started listening to the album, it seemed to get better as I progressed through the record.
Yeah, that's nice. Very, very good. But my question was, have you ever listened to Nightmare before this album?
I listened to Nightmare before, but not necessarily as in depth as I listened to this time around with this record, like a song here and a song there. So that's why I said I had a little bit of a perception of what to expect. But then when I got to this record and I listened to the whole thing, I mean, having Maddie on this album changes things as well. So that kind of the whole thing was not necessarily what I was going in with the expectation that I was going in, but I was happily with what you guys delivered.
Okay, that's very nice to hear. Thank you so much.
And speaking of Maddie, how did you guys discover her, and what was the thought process by bringing her into the band?
Well, so let's get back when Maggie, with double G, left the band. Well, Maggie decided to left the band, and actually we had a show at the time that was scheduled already, and we were like, okay, we don't have any singer anymore, and we have to do the show. So we started to watch over YouTube's video with females' voices, but not lyrics vocals. We were looking for some rock and roll voices, and and the drummer from Nightmare, who is actually working in the scene here, in the metal scene, said, okay, I know this girl. I saw her singing. Maybe it can work, at least only for one shot show, but it will work. So we tried her on a rehearsal, and yeah, everything went good. It was not amazing at first. that's fun, because Maddie and Maggie doesn't have the same voice. It means Maggie had that rough and bold voice, and Maddie is as hasn't got this, but has other really nice stuff. She can go more higher, for example, than Maggie.
Yeah, there's other attributes.
Yeah, and okay, we started rehearsing, and then we did the show, the one-shot show, and it was nice and good. So we decided to go on with her and started to work with the new songs, actually, because that song was written for the Maggie Luton's range, for her voice. Then we said, okay, it doesn't fit that much with Maddie, so let's try her on the new song. And there magic happens at the time, so everything went good. Mm-hmm.
So with her in the mix, how was the overall creative process behind this record? Because obviously, like you said, you have to keep in mind her range, her style, her approach. So how much did it change for you guys making this album based on that?
So basically, talking technical, we just we just tuned the guitars half step up than before. And talking only about the recording process, the writing process, it's always been, Frank, the other guitar player, and myself who are writing the basic songs. It means that guitar players are writing the songs. And so we had like 10, 10 songs, 10 demos, completely done. I mean, from scratch. It was really nice. And then she started to sing on it. And then actually Yves, the bass player, is very nice. He found all the melodies and all the lyrics. So everything fits together very well. And then they worked very hard on the language, on the way of speaking English, because Maddie needed some, not lessons, but some training, let's say, to get her voice really nice for the album. And yeah, then Aeternam was born.
How much work did you guys put into the track listing and the overall structure of the album? Because I felt that you guys did a magnificent job with the fluidity from track to track. Like the album doesn't feel broken. It just has this, okay, this song is finished. This next one just comes right after, picks up where the previous one left off, and you just keep going all the way through. So how much did you guys argue back and forth with this track listing?
Well, I wrote, let's say that I wrote 5 songs. Frank wrote 5 other songs. Then we didn't had that much songs. We wanted to make an album, a 10-track album, because I really believe nowadays, if you go 12 track, 13 tracks, it's way too much.
Yeah, I agree.
And you lose some, you lose some energy. That's what you said when you hear Aeternam. It's one, not in one track, but it's one piece album. You can listen to it, and it goes on and on. If you do 13 tracks album, it doesn't work anymore nowadays.
It becomes a little bit overbearing. You know what I mean? Like it just feels like it's dragging out.
Exactly. So, well, actually, it went simple because we didn't had that much songs. So we had 10 songs, and we had to make those songs the best we could, So it was not hard to choose which one. The track listing is well done, but actually it went very naturally. It was like, okay, this can go after this one. Oh yeah, it works. And actually, if you do, you can try it. If you listen to it turn up in the way you want, it will work. That's the thing that is very fun. You can put in which order you want, it will work. So anyway, but I think that's just a matter of atmosphere. It's not as the album is kind of concept album, kind of about fear, control, depression, all those dark
thoughts.
Yeah, dark thoughts. Let's say that it's you have to see this album as one entity and not as pieces by pieces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. Listening to the album from a sound perspective, there's 2 things that I took away. And the first one I want to ask you is, do you feel like this is a guitar-driven record? Because to me, the guitars were on the driving seat. Everybody else was in the back seat.
That, what is funny with this is that you just noticed that it was a guitar driven album, but all the Nightmare records are a guitars driven album. It's just a matter of sound and how it's mixed and how it's balanced, all together. But the recording process and the writing process were exactly the same for us as the other album. But that's what is very funny, because it's the first album in years that we have finally found the right sound for the right album for the right songs. You see what I
No,
mean?
it's true, because the other element of the sound that I was going to mention to you is the keyboards and the symphonic elements. A lot of bands these days are pushing those to the forefront, and all you hear is keyboards, and everything else is like in the back seat. You
Yeah.
can barely hear the guitars, you can barely
Yeah.
hear the drums. The vocals obviously have to be in the forefront, but it's vocals and keyboards, and everybody else, it's almost like they're not even there. So listening to this album, I felt that you guys did the best job possible, which is use the keyboards and symphonic elements as atmosphere, as a layer, but allow those guitars in the forefront with the vocals side by side to really push the record forward.
That's true. That's true. Because when the guitar players are writing the songs. So obviously, you push the guitars more. The guitar work is really, pushed. And, but that's very nice. And I really believe that the sound makes it bigger, for sure. The production is so good,
Mm-hmm.
and the production. It was produced and mixed by a guitar player, and I think also it helps. You
Yeah,
see.
definitely. But exactly, the sound on this album, you guys really created a really perfect blend. All the elements have the right volume, they're all in the right spot. And what I think sometimes people think is that if you push those symphonic elements to the forefront, it'll make the album bigger, which is not necessarily true. It just makes the album more melodic. It kind of dilutes everything else. But what you guys did was by pushing the guitars to the forefront, allowing the keyboards to be just a layer of melody, that actually made the record feel bigger, more cinematic.
That's true. Because on the Burden of God album in 2012, it was the opposite around. It was the keyboards were really, in full front, only keyboards everywhere, and the guitars were really, really in the back seats. And it doesn't, you know, as I told you before, it's just that we did what we've been doing for years, but for once and for the first time in years, we found the right guy to mix it the way it has to be mixed to sound, to make this
Have that as
powerful. So
well, on this record, I mean, you guys have tons of experience. So this putting this album together is not necessarily like you guys are rookies. But was there a song for you that gave you a little bit of gray hair that drove you to drink?
well, I don't really know, but there is a song that uh, let's say Annalise is for me the most. We needed to work more harder on this one because it's a really big story behind behind the song. There is a big story behind it, and there are three different characters who are singing, and we needed to make great atmosphere in it, special stuff. But it was not difficult. I mean, no, all the songs were written, and then Eve and Maddie sang on it, and it happens. I mean,
Yeah, the rest is history.
the rest is history. Yeah, in a way.
I want to ask you about a specific track that I really enjoyed on this record, and that was "Downfall of a Tyrant." A little bit of the background on that track. Can you give me a little bit of an insight?
Sure. So this is one of my track, by the way. This is a song I wrote. The song I wrote, and this is one of my favorite, one, two. And at first, the demo well, the, the title track of the demo was Screaming Eagles, because I'm really a diehard fan of. I'm a history nerd. You know, I love World War II and all the stories behind the paratroopers.
Oh, I thought you're gonna say
Actually,
I thought you're gonna say you're a big Sabaton fan.
no, no, no. You can see there's the flag of the Screaming Eagles
Oh,
there.
oh, yeah.
So I'm a big, history nerd, but not a Sabaton fan. I really love Sabaton guys, but I'm not really a Sabaton fan anyway. So at first it was this topic. When I wrote this, it was like, okay, you can imagine yourself in a C-47, just flying around the beaches, and then you have to jump into. It's just about controlling your fear and say, okay, living your fear during the moment and do your duties. That's what I thought when I wrote the song. And then, yeah, the lyrics are kind of about this too. I didn't wrote the lyrics, but you can feel it. And this first riff, by the way, if you listen to it and you can picture, if you picture the scene, it's very important. You can imagine some tanks rolling. It's all this. Once you close your eyes, everything is more clear. Try it if you can.
Yeah, I'll have to do that now. I didn't think about that when I was listening to the song, but now that you're mentioning, now I have to go back to it, listen to it again with that in
Mhm.
mind. I'm also a big history buff, so I really appreciate tracks that have that vibe and that sort of approach to it. It adds some flavor to the lyrics and to the overall delivery. Now, when you look at this record, is there any specific experience that you're going to take away from this album going forward?
Well, uh, let's talk just. I don't know. I'm gonna talk about myself because when I wrote a song, I put all my heart in it, all the feeling that I can have during the moment that I wrote, and most of the songs were written in 2017 and 18, and it was very tough times for me, very hard. I was in depression. I was feeling so dark. It was like someone was controlling me, and everything was dark clouds around. So experience is that, uh, yeah, it helps me to go through actually with those songs, and it was very, yeah, it's very intense process for me.
Almost like therapy for you now.
Yes, 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 yes. Because well, when I listen to the songs, I I can barely, remember why I wrote the song. So yeah, kind of therapy here. Yeah.
Last question for you. You mentioned already that almost all the stars were aligned for this. The right lineup, the right people behind the record to create the perfect sound. So do you feel like this album will move Nightmare into a different place? Like Nightmare from now on is going to be a different band than what it was up until now.
Yeah, yeah. I believe you're right. Yeah, I really believe that this album will push Nightmare somewhere else, but I don't know where, because that's the main problem here. Is the pandemic stuff with the corona situation is really a pain in the ass, because we are, when I say we, it means all the bands, but we are all in this, and nobody knows what's going to happen next. That's the main problem. And you can write the best album of your career or your life, but if you don't tour, if the promotion, if you don't tour, people will not know that your band exists. A lot of people still don't know Nightmare, and that's, yeah, that's normal. But there, I'm very anxious about it, because for me, we wrote the best album so far in years, you know, and I really hope that we will be able to defend the album on live.
Yeah,
as,
and showcase
yeah.
it to people for sure.
Yeah, because if you can, just imagine 2 seconds that we musicians in the world are not able to tour until, let's say, to 2022. Let's say, on yeah, let's say in 2 years, our album will have 2 years already, and people would have forget the album. So it will be useless to tour the album. So we will have to write another album, and so I really hope people will not forget what the job we did on this one. But it's kind of
No, I don't think this is going to be an easy album to forget. The quality of the record speaks for itself. But I understand your position. It is a difficult position because if you hit the road in 2 years, it'll be very hard to hit the road with an album that's 2 years old. You'll need at least an EP or something like that to kind of, okay, we had this album, now we have this EP, now we're hitting the road to play songs from the album in the EP. But to carry a 2-year-old album on the road, it's impossible.
yeah, it's impossible nowadays, and we are not big band, so we are not Maiden that can do all the old albums and everybody will recognize the songs. So I really hope it will work, but
The positive or the silver lining, if you will, is with people not being able to go to shows and being at home a lot more, including myself, we get to listen to a lot more music. I'll be honest with you, I'm listening to more music now than before the pandemic.
sure, because you can't go live, so you're
Yeah,
more at home.
exactly. I was going to like four live shows a week. Now I have more time. I'm home, so I'm listening to more bands, to more albums. So I'm consuming a lot more music, and I think that's true for a lot of people.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's true too. But thing is, I mean, it's really nice to hear this, that you, and I'm sure many other people are listening, and are taking the time to listen to albums that, let's say, yeah, that maybe they would have not listened in their life. So that's very nice. But for us, we will not earn money from the albums. This
Yeah,
time we
yeah,
are.
I know what you're saying.
And
Yeah, for a band these days, being on the road is important, not only from the exposure to the music, but also from a business perspective, because you need to sell merch, you need to sell the tickets, and that's really where you're making the money. Let's face the facts: nobody's making money on CDs or albums anymore.
but that's the main problem, because even if the album is has a very warm welcome, but if we're not able to make another album because we don't have any more money, it's useless. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, but yeah, the album, yeah, I think that this album has something very special that is coming out, right now, and people are more focused on the band,
Yeah.
so okay, maybe, also the cover as something that is attracting people. Personally, I really love the artwork cover, and I believe that, okay, when you see this one, this is metal, but you don't know what it is
What it
exactly.
is? Yeah.
Yeah, and so you will, try to, take the time to listen to it.
Well, I want to tell you, I really enjoy the record. I think it's phenomenal, as you know. Really well
All right.
balanced sound wise. Like you guys nailed it with the sound. And Maddie's voice is incredible. She has this real rock vibe to her, but at the same time, she can push it and
Yeah,
move more into that symphonic arena, if you will. So she has a really nice range to her voice. That's the perfect complement for the album you guys created.
yeah. Thank you so much.
Well,
I
thank
really
you for
like it.
taking the time and best of luck with the release.
Okay, no problem. All right. Goodbye, Pedro.